to be honest, it was kind of luck for me. So my brother did an exchange in Japan in 1990 something, 1980 something. And he came to Japan after that, and he was working in a ski resort actually. And then he came to Kobe because there was the earthquake. And after the earthquake, he stayed in Japan and lived in Kobe for a few years, and I didn't hear anything from him. And I was thinking, where's my brother? What's he doing? And I just finished high school, and I was more interested in traveling the world than studying anything. And so my brother, I had a conversation, and he said, you should come to Japan. It's great fun here. You know, I can help you get a job as an English teacher. And so, yeah, I knew nothing about Japan, but I put on a backpack and I came to Japan, and I thought I was going to stay for 6 months, and 25 years later, I'm still here. The reason I stayed in Kansai, I could have moved to Tokyo. We tossed up moving to Fukuoka at one point. We thought about moving to Okinawa, actually, recently during coronavirus. But yeah, for me, Kansai feels like the perfect balance of Japan, you know, in terms of the city and the commercial opportunity, balanced with the lifestyle. So I go to Tokyo almost every week, and it's very effective. I do business, but it's not a place that I want to stay. You know, it's way too busy for me, and I don't feel comfortable there at all. And so every time I come back to Kansai, I feel like the lifestyle, the pace of life here is much more comfortable, but still very accessible in terms of business opportunities. I have, as I mentioned, 25 years experience living in Kansai and working from here and being based here until I became part of the group, the Carter Group. A few years ago, which has a Tokyo office. I was basically always centered on Kansai. CarterIGNITE, where I work now, also has an Osaka office. It's just different, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it. So, for example, our work in Kansai, we had a client for about 10 years at Universal Studios Japan here. We also do a lot of work in age tech here. We have a user community of aging adults who are willing to test foreign technologies and help us localize and adapt them for the Japanese market. Aging, med, bio, health, all of these sectors are very strong in the Kansai region. So for us, we look nationally, we support companies coming in from anywhere on the planet, and so for us, it's about where are your buyers or where are your customers. So yeah, if your customers, if your main partners or main customers are in the Kansai region, then it makes sense to be here. If they are in other regions, it makes more sense to be there. I think that's fundamentally, it comes down to that for me. And in terms of this particular region's sector opportunities, you know, I mentioned entertainment, Universal Studios, for example. We've had the World Expo here as well. There's a very strong argument for any entertainment companies, any companies that revolve around the tourism industry, for example, because there's such a huge influx of tourism in this particular region, and so many cultural assets around us as well. That sector makes sense. Health and bio makes sense. Manufacturing makes a lot of sense. Anything revolving around manufacturing. Green tech, in terms of optimizing, reducing carbon, etc. Within these sectors, there's a very strong reason to be in this region. So yeah, I guess in sum, you know, while our base is in Tokyo for a lot of our work, we still have and we still expect a lot of our work to remain in the Kansai region as well. Yeah, so we've worked with a lot of companies over the years through other programs that we've run, and I'm aware that a couple of the companies are already on the Invest Osaka website, companies that we've supported through previous accelerator programs, etc. In the past few years, a lot of our work has revolved around Tokyo. We bring in companies of all sectors and work with them at different stages. So we work with multinational clients that are looking to understand the Japanese market better. So In that case, a lot of our research takes place in Kansai because Kansai people are more talkative, basically. They're famous for being, it's the home of comedy, it's the home of food, it's the home of entertainment. So we find that conducting market research and focus groups with Kansai people is often much easier, and the people are much more open and willing to give their insights than in different regions of Japan. Yeah, when we work with multinational clients, we do research work all around. Most of that comes out of our Tokyo office, but depending on the type of work, we do that in Kansai too. In terms of specific examples, one of the companies we brought in from Australia, actually, my home country, and we invested in their Japan operation. It was a SaaS marketing tech company, and we have been running that for about 4 years now, and that has grown to become a really significant part of our business, to be honest. We are the local subsidiary owner now, and that funds a lot of the exploratory work that we do. So we also work with very early stage ventures in age tech, for example. And we couldn't fund that if it wasn't for our success case with Delicon, this particular company, to help us fund these operations. So yeah, that's one example in the SaaS space that we've supported. We're just about to open a Kansai office for a green tech company, which is involved in biomass and which has already secured more than 10 projects in Japan, and they're ready to double down on their operation in Kansai. And because all of the clients so far are in West Japan. So again, servicing the entire West Japan region, it makes a lot of sense to have the base in Kansai. And we anticipate a lot of the local corporations here will be interested in this sort of technology because, as I mentioned before, green tech is a sector of focus for this region. Yeah, so as a foreigner living in Japan for over 25 years, I still don't understand Japan, to be honest, but I feel like I understand it better and better. And I think the future of Japan has to be global, and particularly outside of Tokyo, which is already the most global, right? The other regions of Japan have so much potential because, we've had a huge influx of tourists here. Outside of the major Tokyo city, but we haven't had a huge influx of commercial, foreign companies coming into regions outside Tokyo. And the reasons for that are largely cultural in terms of the business culture of understanding the market and localizing your product or service to the market and navigating your way to the right partner or the right distributor or the right customers is extremely difficult. And so for years I've thought, how can someone like me, because there's not that many people who stay here this long and continue to work in Japan, how can I contribute to that? And so until now I've worked with various stages of companies that are looking to enter the market, whether that's running accelerator programs or running trade delegations for different sectors, particularly around the World Expo. There was a lot of different trade delegations going on, introducing foreign technology to the region. And I think that's really important. The World Expo was really important, particularly for this region, to get used to the sophisticated technologies and professionals out there who love Japan, who want to be in Japan. But for a region like Kansai, a lot of them would hesitate because they weren't comfortable with that. But now after the expo, everyone is very used to talking to foreign companies and assessing foreign technology is still, there's too much interest in Kansai right now, to be honest, which is a nice problem. But everyone's overwhelmed because there's so much new ideas and new opportunities and new connections that have been made. What happens next after the expo? I feel someone like me is really important in terms of helping these connections to flourish. And so, yeah, back to the globalization, I want to see more foreign professionals. I want to see more foreign businesses. I want to see more foreign technology helping solve the issues that Japan faces, you know, with the lack of population, you know, the aging society, all of these trends, the need to become more sustainable. All of these trends are trends that foreign technology and foreign people and professionals can help to solve. So yeah, I really want to continue. I feel very passionate about working in this industry, and I'm very encouraged, especially after the World Expo, at the amount of interest and discussions and commercial discussions going on now. So yeah, I feel it's a very critical time. If for anyone that's interested in accessing this market, like, I think there's never been a better time to really look at the Kansai region and Japan as a whole, but particularly the Kansai region has, I think, what's the word I'm looking for? Habituated itself to the need for foreign technology and foreign business as well. Yeah, so when I came here in 2001, I ended up starting my first business in 2005. And it was very hard, to be honest. I wasn't aware of Invest Osaka back then. I'm not sure if it existed, but as a foreigner trying to set up a business in this Kansai region, yeah, I didn't really meet anyone else who was running their own business for quite a few years. It was very rare, and we had basically zero support that we were aware of. So we had to navigate everything ourselves. So Kansai 25 years ago, from a commercial perspective, I'm most thinking, it was a very different. So very little foreign presence outside of the major, you know, retail brands or, you know, food and beverage, these sorts of presence. Yeah, that was 25 years ago. Very, very Japanese. Not many tourists even, actually, yeah. 25 years later, it's completely different. Yeah, and again, I just kind of refer back to the expo where we're at now. I've never been as excited about the potential for Japan because I think it has to become more global. I think it has some issues to solve around that. And I think companies like FutureWorks, where we're at right now, Hankyo Hanshin Properties is behind this space. And they have been trying for over 10 years to bring in more foreign companies, more early stage foreign companies, just more professionals now. FutureWorks space is around bringing remote professionals to the region. So, you know, bringing in a large number of tourists is one thing, but bringing in the kinds of people that we want to stay, to build, to create real economic impact here is something that the last 10 years I've seen a lot more of. And so right now where we are today, I feel positive about the future in terms of the Japanese economy. I think because, yeah, Japan domestically, it's trending, shrinking basically, but Japan mixed with the global technology and professionals and people and ideas that I mentioned before, I think can and will continue to grow. And I think Japan is a perfect test bed for the future in a lot of ways, particularly with aging society, for example. What we do here is going to dictate what other societies around the world do. And so Japan is in a really good spot to adapt and to innovate and to become, I think, the world's best place to live. You know, I'm happy here and I will be here until I die, I like to think, if my wife agrees. But Yeah, so I'm extremely positive about the way that it's changing right now. Yeah, so to be honest, I don't think you can do it without with support like IBPC or Osaka. There's so many aspects of business that you don't really want to do. Like trying to do anything like that on your own in terms of establishment and the legal and the understanding the hiring and all of these sorts of fundamental setup stage tasks. If you don't get local support, I think you just, it becomes very, very difficult. So as I mentioned, we didn't have any of that 25 years ago and wasted a lot of time learning that stuff. So I think you have to have that soft landing with government support to help you navigate the regulatory and compliance pieces. I also think you have to have the support, not necessarily of our organisation, of course. I feel that we can support companies across a wide range of sectors and stages, but just you need to have someone that you trust in the market. And recently, foreign governments are getting a lot better at providing, taxpayer-funded programs to help their country's innovations explore the market and meet with those trusted partners or trusted distributors or trusted, customers. Trust is that fundamental key. So how do you build trust in Japan? It takes a long time. So you need to find someone that understands and already has that trust in the market. It will just accelerate your progress. So again, it depends on the kind of company that you are, but I think your first consideration should be, what does my ideal go-to-market look like? It may or may not require a presence in Kansai. So the green tech company I mentioned before, they have existing customers across West Japan and a pipeline of projects to deliver. That makes real sense to come to Kansai. And so working with IBPC to fill those gaps of the compliance and the regulatory piece, etc., getting set up is extremely easy. It just makes everything easy, right? But then if your ideal go-to-market is actually just to license your technology to one of the large consumer electronics companies in the region and let them distribute your product through integration with their own product suite, then having an office may or may not be necessary for you. You might need a support presence, depending on the level of sophistication. You might find that a sales or a customer support service centre, branch might be relevant for you. But regardless, I think you've just got to find someone that you trust and can connect you with the people that you need in the market. Because if you don't, it's not worth your effort, I think. I think you need to think very hard if Japan is worth it as a market for you, if you haven't found someone like that has trust in the Japanese market and is interested in your technology or product. Yeah, that's a good sign for you to then go, okay, what does my go-to-market look like? And if that involves having an actual operation here, then by all means talk to IBPC. Because you connect them with the other services in the region, right? Like Osaka Innovation Hub and the local government subsidy programs, etc. You understand all of the local parties who are involved in supporting their establishment here. So, my first tip would be do your research first before you come. So you might get lucky. There are a number of programs, government funded, as I mentioned before, which allow you to come and explore the market without having to invest anything yourself yet. They're great to access as a first step towards the market. I would highly encourage you to participate in those to really understand if your product has potential in this market. As a market research company, I would say actually do the research, because that's easier for later stage companies, less easy for earlier stage companies. But just make some effort to identify if there is a real need or demand for your solution in the market. before you approach the market here. Figure out who your strategic partners or customers are before you come. They may or may not be the same that you think, but just have an understanding of who they might be before you approach the market. Get your USP extremely clear, because if you can't differentiate your product or service from the Japanese, who are looking globally at solutions like yours already, and they are very demanding of a high level of quality, you should make your USP very, very clear as to why you are much better than your competitors in your own market, and preferably you should understand the competitors in this market too, because they do. And then, yeah, after doing the research, as I mentioned before, finding someone that you trust, and more importantly, not jumping into a relationship with the first party that you meet is really important. There are many horror stories in Japan about getting excited about meeting a distributor, signing them up as exclusive, and then nothing happens for a few years. So just be very careful with who you decide, or hiring your first business development or country manager on the ground who doesn't necessarily turn out right. So again, be very careful with who you trust in the market to help you navigate, and start small with a relationship with them is often a good way to prove. Of course, if they're a very large, big name, you might be tempted to just say, wow, they've got the distribution network, let's sign exclusivity with them. But even large companies, they have many stories of sitting on the shelf for years or taking a very, very long time. And that could severely hinder your Japan market entry. So again, as a market research company, I know it sounds obvious, but doing your research is going to save you time later. So yeah, that would be the most important piece. But then, yeah, if you're looking at the Kansai, if Kansai makes sense for you, come and talk to us. Come and talk to IBPC, come and talk to us. We would love to talk with you. And it can help you, figure out where you are, where you should be, what you need.